I know, crazy title for my first video, but I just watched the movie Wicked, and despite how hard I tried to love it, I found it overall meh. Keep in mind that today I'll be discussing my criticisms of only the movie. I will not be commenting on the original musical or anything outside of it, since I know very little. I'm Sharky Finn, and welcome to my channel. If you have any other topics you would like for me to discuss in the future, comment them below and let's get started. So, if you haven't seen it, spoilers ahead. But for my knowledge, it's a movie adaptation of a musical with the same name set in the land of Oz. What I have seen, the movie's main praise is the diversity and overall morals of the story. So let's get started with the positives. The way they told the story of discrimination was overall very good, especially with the animals, Elphaba and Nessa Rose. Okay, I'm going to pronounce these names very wrong. Sorry in advance. As an ambulatory wheelchair user, I felt very represented by the character, especially during the scenes where she would say she could do things by herself or saying to Bok that he just felt sorry for her. I do not use my wheelchair often, but when I do, I find myself feeling the same way. People seem to unintentionally look down on disabled people, seeing them as helpless, especially when their disabilities are obvious, such as being in a wheelchair. Furthermore, I felt that Elphaba was a very good representation of disability, which is quite crazy since when I was going into the movie, I was expecting to see more of a racial side to it. As I am not a person of colour, I don't want to take away any representation they get from this character, but the way she has to describe being born the way she is and is overall seen as a freak from birth, I feel is very relatable for people with disabilities, as I will try to show if copyright's not mean to me.
All right. Here we go. No, I'm not seasick.
Neither am I.
No, I did not eat grass as a child.
Oh, you didn't? I did.
And yes, I have always been green.
And the defensiveness, is that a recent development?
I felt that I can very much relate to this as a person that was lately diagnosed with autism. It has always felt like people knew what was wrong with me, like they could sense that I was different. And at the time, I didn't even know the name for it, which is similar to Elphaba in the story, as she doesn't know why she's green and everyone seems to avoid her because of it. I, however, do feel that the story was a bit too fictitious with the way that everyone reacted. Like, in this world, there are talking animals and a lot more, yet they can't accept someone with a different skin pigment. I understand they're trying to show the meaning of discrimination, but I feel that this is an inappropriate representation. Even when I was isolated within school, it wasn't because everyone hated me for the way I was. I think it was more because they just didn't understand me. My brain worked differently and they didn't understand. I feel that they should have shown that side of things more in this movie. Like how I had people that still talk to me in school. They definitely looked at me weirdly with the way I acted sometimes, but it wasn't everyone screaming, or in this case singing, about how they hated me. Before you say that this is a fictitious world and shouldn't be compared to the real world, I highly disagree, as in the end, this movie is trying to share a message. It is trying to tell a story that's in the end set in another world, but the overall message connects to ours. And I feel that this could have been done better. Sorry. I'm getting into the negatives. I'm meant to be doing the positives. Let's see. What positives? The movie was definitely high quality. Like, the effects, acting and singing was absolutely great. Oh, and the morals of not listening to one side of the story is awesome. Way better than Hell of a Boss. Like, there's a whole freaking hate party for Blitz, with everyone on Stolas' sides, despite Stolas doing worse than Blitz ever had. Like, this movie's overall message is to, like, not discriminate and not to isolate people like Elphaba had. And, like, imagine if like Elphaba saw what Rossica was freaking doing. Oh my god. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. Back on topic. Talking about the morals, I'm not sure they did really that well with that either, like I partially mentioned with the discrimination aspect. Like I said, they did pretty well with the authority figures, like using the wizard to show people you can't always trust authority or even close friends, like blindly. However, I feel like they didn't really do this right. Like, the whole movie is pretty much saying that it's okay to break the rules, to do what is right, but I feel this is wrong. Hearing the message that it's okay to break the rules to do what is right sounds okay at first, but in the end, what is right is different from person to person. I have seen people who think love is wrong. I am a queer, transgender, disabled person. There are people out there that think my existence is wrong, so telling them that it's okay to break the rules so that they can do what they think is right is outright dangerous. In the end, this can be used as an excuse for, at the minimum, to bully someone, which is the opposite of the overall message of non-discrimination. I understand that in the story she is breaking the rules to save a class of people. Well, animals. But people can see this and be inspired to stand up for what is quote-unquote right, which might not be morally right. Talking about animals, the overall world building around them is just genuinely confusing. Like they invented the cage so that animals didn't learn to talk, but aren't they gonna learn how to talk when you're talking in front of the cage? And before you say that animals can't talk in the real world, in this world, obviously they do have the mental capacity to learn English. Like there are kids out there who haven't been taught English, but in the end, understand specific words or can even speak a couple of words through hearing others. And from my understanding, I think they're also using the cage method to stop them from talking, which makes even less sense. Like, this is a world with magic. When I heard Professor Dillamon make his natural goat sound while singing, I thought they were setting up a plot point of like potentially a scientific experiment or a potion to make them stop speaking. Like if you got trapped away with no one to talk to, it's not like you're going to suddenly forget English. Like when the magic professor admitted to knowing the animals losing rights, I was expecting the reveal that she could have potentially spiked the flowers or his drink with the potion that makes him unable to speak, which is why he had to quit being a professor. But they show a cage instead. Like, imagine how good the twist would have been if the magic professor had wrote like that writing on the wall and then further spiked Professor Dillamon so he was unable to teach. Like, imagine how much more reasonable it would be for the main protagonist to be pissed at her if she found out that she was the one that stopped Dillamon from doing something he loved, which was teaching. Like, oh my god, it's right there. To be honest, the overall twist of the wizard being unable to do magic is also confusing. Like, can anyone do magic, or is it only specific people? Because if anyone can do magic, why can't the professor teach him? Like, he won't be able to read the book, but at least he would have the basic power to run a kingdom rather than using a robot? And if only specific people can do magic, then why does Glinda want to learn magic? It wouldn't make sense for her to want to learn magic if she wasn't born with the ability, so everyone must be able to do magic. But if it was a class thing, where only some people can do it due to having a higher education, you think that the wizard would know, or potentially some of his guards, or even the principal of the school. Like, I don't even know what the magic is in this world, and it's so confusing. Like, at least the original Wizard of Oz, it was kind of set up so there was only 2 wizards that could do magic, but in this one, that's completely thrown out the window. Like, magic wasn't clear in the first one, but it didn't need to be. We didn't really need to know if it was genetic or taught because only 2 people could perform magic. But since in this story, there's just a variety of people who either want to do magic or can do magic, there needs to be an explanation, especially when the wizard himself can't do it. There's not even anything said about it, that's just overlooked. Like, what? Okay, I need to actually move on from the world building because I could be here forever talking about this, and this script is already getting so long and I haven't even talked about everything I want to talk about yet. Okay, I'm going to talk about my biggest critique within this entirety of the film, the music and overall pacing. Before anyone picks on me for not liking musicals, I do in fact like musicals, and I'm going to use the example of one of my, if not my favourite musical, Heathers. So if you haven't watched it already, I would highly recommend, specifically the 2014 Broadway version. Anyway, spoilers ahead for that. Okay, so this may be a me issue because I watched this on a website where there was no captions, but I personally couldn't really understand what they were saying during the songs. Not blaming the singers or actors at all, since they could sing way better than I ever could, and I understand that the higher pitch you sing, the harder it is to articulate. However, this is an issue with all the songs in the musical. Furthermore, they're just not memorable. Like, I found that after the musical, I was literally sitting there trying to remember a single song or even melody from the musical, and I couldn't. Most musicals, you get a song stuck in head for weeks, but I couldn't even remember a single tune. The only tune I could remember was because they were on freaking TikTok, and I've heard the sounds hundreds of times. I was wondering why, and then it came to me. It's because you can barely hear the words. Listen to the opening song of No One Mourns the Wicked and compare it to the opening songs of the Heathers.
College will be paradise if I'm not dead by June. But I know, life can be beautiful. I pray for a better way. If we changed back then, we could change again. We can be beautiful.
You hear the difference? Both opening songs that you instantly get thrown into, but one is a lot easier to hum and overall nicer to play in the background than the other one. I understand that Wicked has a lot more opera singing, and that's more of its genre. However, I have listened to opera music that is memorable and does stick in your head. Obviously, it's not the classic opera, but this isn't trying to be the classic opera. It's trying to be a musical version, and I feel like it doesn't succeed at this. Especially towards the end of the movie, where there are points that are meant to be tense and they stop halfway to sing a song.
Quickly. Get on.
What?
Before you say that this is just the musical genre, again, compare it to Heathers, where they incorporate the music into it, as seen with Veronica when she realizes the trap that has been set up to her by JD, following this amazing villain song, which, oh my god, listen.
Come, join, gather in town. Where have you been?
We've been worried sick. Your friend JD stopped by. He told us everything. Everything.
Your depression, your thoughts.
Even showed us your copy of Moby Dick.
He's got your handwriting down cold.
Please, honey, talk to us.
We wouldn't understand.
Try me. Look, I've experienced everything you're going through right now. I know it all seems impossibly dramatic.
Guess who's right in the bar?
Your problems seem like life and death.
Guess who's climbing the stairs?
I promise they're not.
Guess who's picking it up? You don't know what my world looks like. Time's up, go say your prayers.
What did I say?
Veronica's running on fumes now. Veronica's totally right. Veronica's gotta be tripping on shrooms now. Thinking that she can die. Veronica's done for. There's no doubt now. Notified next to kin. Veronica's trying to keep it out now. Too late. Knock, knock. Talk to me out like I was trash. For that, we should be dead. But then it hit me like a flash. What if high school went away instead? Those assholes are the key. They're keeping you away from me. They made you blind, messed up your mind, but I can set you free. You left me and I fell apart. I punched the wall and cried, bam, bam, bam. Then I felt you change my heart and set loose all that truth inside. And so I killed the bomb.
You see what I mean? You compare this to Wicked, where you feel like there is no danger at all. Like, I'm just imagining that the guards are banging on the door and then they go, oh shit, they're singing, let's put our shit down and we'll wait until they've done their emotional stuff. And then once they're done, they go, oh my god, wait, we have a job we need to do, and start banging on the door again. This, oh my god. Like, it feels so fake, because in reality, they would have already broken through that door by now, and they would have been captured. If you don't feel that this one is comparable, then there is another scene where they do stop the music to talk and then finish the music afterwards, where it feels genuine and the tension isn't lost.
Those are bombs. People will see the ashes of Westerberg and think to themselves, now there's a school that's self-destructed, not because society didn't care, but because that school was society. You know the only place that Heathers and Martha's can truly get along? Heaven.
I wish your mom had been a little stronger. I wish she'd stayed around a little longer. I wish your dad were good. I wish grown-ups understood. I wish we met before they convinced me life is war. I wish you'd come with me.
I wish I had more TNT!
You can see the writers holding the strings, making sure that they have just enough time to make you feel emotions instead of keeping that tension. If they just did it a bit sooner, it would have been fine, but instead they had to cut the tension and they expect you to go on an emotional roller coaster, but instead I found myself being pulled out of it. In general, it ruined my immersion, while in Heathers, it at least added to it because you felt like it was within character. That's another thing. The twist in Heathers and the building of the characters is overall so much better than Wicked. I feel like this is because there were so many characters in Wicked that they didn't have enough time to explore each of them. In Heathers, even though there are a lot of characters, they made sure some of them were super flat and basic while making sure to give the main characters as much depth as possible. So in the end, you could kind of forgive the writers for having characters like Ram and Kurt not having the same dimension as Veronica. I felt that the story also did really well with the overall morals. In the end, it showed how society really is, unlike Wicked, where everyone is just a black and white villain. Heathers have dimension, with even their villains having good sides. It does the message of discrimination so much better because it shows you how it's taught and not everyone wants to be mean. Like, everyone wasn't singing bad things about Veronica at the beginning. A lot of them were bystanders, with even people coming up to her and saying hi once she's out of the spotlight, unlike in Wicked. And there was no messaging that could be taken incorrectly either. Instead, the message was that even the best of people can turn bad, and it also subverts the expectation at the beginning of the movie. It just seems like the classic plot of the unpopular girl becomes popular and learns what she did wrong. Both Wicked and Heather have their morals mainly showing during the twist of the movie, but unlike Wicked, where it is unclear and confusing, Heather's made sure that we can see that in the end everyone is human. There are actions that cannot ever be forgiven, such as seen in the movie, but in the end that doesn't mean that people are always bad, and good people can be influenced to do the worst crimes. Like Wicked, it shows how authority cannot always be trusted, but unlike Wicked, where it blames everything about society on authority, which yes can partially be true, in Heathers it shows that they're all the same. As kids, we really look up to adults for help, but in reality it shows you that in the end, they are either the ones causing the situation through education and what they do, or they don't help at all. I understand that Heathers is based at a school which is more realistic than The Wizard of Oz, but they are stories that have been very unrealistic and fantastical, where they have morals that transfer over and people learn lots from them, such as the early Disney films, being a great example. But I feel like Wicked is getting too much praise for overall being a meh movie. In the end, if I wanted to watch a musical, why would I watch Wicked when I could just watch Heathers? And if I wanted to watch a movie about discrimination or disabilities, I would watch another movie. There are so many other movies that do these morals so much better, and I feel so much more entertained and inspired by these movies, than I really did with Wicked. I really don't know why it's getting all the praise that it is. I don't know if I'm missing something, but just looking at everything I've said today, I'm just not sure. Anyway, I think that's the end of the video. I think you're probably sick of hearing my voice anyway, but if you're not, you can subscribe. I'll try and make videos on a regular basis, but I have a lot of stuff going on, which is what life always is, let's be honest. If this video doesn't get any comments, then I'll probably talk about maybe Hell of a Boss or this specific plot point in Umbrella Academy that really pissed me off. I don't know. I'll just chat about media on this account, so if you want to see more of that, I hope to see you next time. Anyway, I actually don't have any idea of what this outro should be, so let's hope I get an idea next time. Bye for now.